Battle through the heavens, Grand World. Chapter 220 Opponents. Boom. Following a loud explosive sound, Zhao Shuo, who Zhao Qingshan had high hopes for, was sent his opponent flying away. Although he had won, he was far from being as unrestrained as Xiao Yan and the other two. The clothes on his upper body were all torn apart, and there was a trace of blood on his handsome face. After finishing off his opponent, Zhao Shuo looked at the battlefield. He was slightly startled when he saw Xiao Yan and the other two, who had been quietly waiting for a long time. After that, he stopped talking and found a quiet place to recover from his injuries before the first round of intense battle ended. The people on the grandstand were also stunned. First, they looked at Xiao Yan and the others, then they looked at the other 7 men who were still fighting. They couldn't help but have a strange expression on their faces. Although these young men were all geniuses from all over the world, it seemed like there was a strong distinction between geniuses. Although most of the people on the platform were monarch spirit warriors, their battles were far more exciting than the battles of ordinary monarch spirit warriors, causing some of the emperor-level spectators to be frightened. They knew that they were no match for them, but compared to the other 4, they were at a disadvantage. Dong! A young man was struck in the chest by his opponent's fist. Although he didn't suffer much damage due to his defense, he was still sent flying in the direction where Yin Kang was standing. Glancing coldly at the young man who was flying towards him, Yin Kang coldly harumphed. He kept his hands behind his back and didn't make any movements. Just as the young man was about to hit him, Yin Kang suddenly kicked him in the back. Poochie. The defense that was not broken by the opponent's full-strength attack seemed to be very fragile under Yin Kang's feet. The kick easily broke the defense of the young man and hit his waist. The young man's face instantly turned pale as if he had suffered a heavy blow. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a kite with a broken string, he flew out of the arena and fainted on the ground. The young man's opponent was just about to chase after him when he saw Yin Kang's sudden burst of strength. He couldn't help but be slightly startled. After that, he gave Yin Kang a deep look. Although he was filled with unwillingness, he still gritted his teeth and took a deep breath. He walked onto the stage and jumped down. With his current strength, he had no chance of winning against such a monstrous genius. Although he was proud and arrogant, he wasn't a fool. He knew when to fight with his life on the line and when to retreat. The young man took the initiative to step down from the stage, which shocked the crowd. They didn't care about the surprised looks on the crowd's faces. The young man walked towards an old man in a gray robe not far away. He arrived in front of the old man. The young man lowered his hand and stood in front of the old man. He didn't want to give up. "I'm sorry, teacher." The old man in gray robes looked at the young man with a complicated expression. Then, he sighed. A trace of a smile appeared on his old face. He knew when to advance and when to retreat. This disciple of his, the world in the future would never be restricted by the star-severing mountain range. After a young man was kicked out by Yin Kang, one of them took the initiative to step down the stage. At this moment, there were only a few people on the stage. Yin Kang's cold eyes impatiently looked at the few people who were still fighting, then he turned his gaze to Xiao Yan who was not far away. When he threw Wei Shu down the stage just now, there were only a few people on the stage. He had already noticed that this guy who had defeated Wei Shu seemed to have some unusual means. Kai! A rushing wind sound was heard. Yin Kang's body was like a bolt of lightning as he charged towards Xiao Yan. In the blink of an eye, he had covered a distance of tens of meters. Xiao Yan, who was watching the intense battle between the few men in the center, suddenly had a change of expression. In the next moment, an indescribable feeling of terror emerged in his heart. After a moment of shock, Xiao Yan immediately reacted. He stretched out his palm, and his 5 fingers turned into claws. With the crimson gold flame in his hand, he violently collided with Yin Kang's fist. Dong! A dull explosive sound suddenly rang out. Under the shocked gazes of the few people who were free on the stage, Yin Kang and Xiao Yan involuntarily took a few steps back. However, it was obvious that the injury suffered by the former was much lighter. He looked at the somewhat red fist. Yin Kang sneered. His gaze when looking at Xiao Yan had a rare trace of excitement. This fellow could actually arouse his interest. Xiao Yan took 3 or 4 steps back before his body swayed. He only stopped after he had gotten rid of the force of the impact. His palm was already slightly numb. He laughed lightly in his heart. This Yin Kang was indeed terrifyingly powerful. The sudden battle between the two of them had also aroused the interest of the surrounding people. After all, these two young men had easily defeated their opponents. The battle between these two geniuses had undoubtedly attracted even more attention. He threw his fist forward. Yin Kang grinned and said in a hoarse voice, "You really do have some strength. This match is finally interesting." Yin Kang slowly extended both of his hands after he spoke. He clenched his fist tightly and the tip of his foot stepped on the ground. His body was just like a cannonball as he rushed towards Xiaoyan. The ground that he was standing on also shattered the moment he left. Kai! The sound of rushing wind, which seemed to be able to tear through the air, resounded beside Xiaoyan's ear. Xiaoyan's expression suddenly became serious. He did not dare to be careless. Although Yin Kang's strength was only that of a 2-Dao emperor, the might of this punch would likely cause an ordinary 3-Dao emperor to die. Both of his hands stretched out as fast as lightning. Xiaoyan held Yin Kang's wrist tightly, causing the latter's fist to suddenly stop. The fist stopped less than an inch away from Xiaoyan's chest. Boom! The moment the two of them were in a deadlock, two majestic origin monarch ki burst out from their bodies. They collided violently. On the ground, Yin Kang's cold expression changed for the first time. He had never thought that this fellow's strength would be so great that it was almost on par with his. Both of his hands tightly gripped Yin Kang's wrist. Xiaoyan secretly praised in his heart. His body had been strengthened by the body-tempering liquid. Even the strength of some emperors' bodies couldn't compare with his. Now, facing Yin Kang, he actually felt a sense of exhaustion. With a thought, the two monarch flames in his body roared and surged. A trace of the monarch flame's power was injected into the origin monarch ki, and it instantly became much stronger. This also made Xiaoyan feel relieved for the time being. The expressions of the few people on the platform were indeterminate. Although the battle between these two fellows wasn't intense at all, it was just a few normal movements. However, the intensity of their auras was far from what they could compare with. Hey! When Yin Kang saw that Xiaoyan was strong enough to fight him with just the strength of a monarch spirit, a smile flashed across his face. His eyes suddenly became sharp, and a gloomy ki burst out from his body. It was like a muffled thunder as it struck towards Xiaoyan. Sensing Yin Kang's attack, Xiaoyan let out a cold laugh. In terms of aura, he wasn't any weaker than him. Immediately, his facial expression became serious. A violent emperor's aura soared into the sky and collided violently with Yin Kang's gloomy aura. A deafening explosion was heard. Both of their bodies trembled, and they quickly retreated. However, this time, it was obvious that Yin Kang had retreated even further. Yin Kang's facial expression turned cold. He stared at Xiaoyan without showing any signs of fear. Interesting. Yin Kang grinned and said in a clear voice. You do have some skills. This match is not so boring. I want to have a good fight with you, but there are still some small fries on the stage. Let's get rid of them before we fight. While they were talking, Yin Kang's body had already flashed. He rushed towards Jiangzi, who had an ugly expression on his face not far away. His sharp ki suddenly soared into the sky. Xiaoyan was slightly startled when he heard what Yin Kang said. After that, he let out a soft laugh and focused his eyes on the spot beside him. After listening to what Yin Kang said, the ashen-faced Zhao Shuo also looked at him with an unfriendly expression. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.